Questions I have. Our first speaker today is Sarah, and Sarah, I forgot how to pronounce your surname. I do apologize.
It's Grau.
Grau. Thank you. Sorry. Let me start again. Today we have Sarah Grau. And oh my God, my screen froze. There we go. If the stories we tell our loved ones are like the movies of our lives, this one is a Grau family cult classic. It's a little cheesy, unravels in remarkably improbable ways, and comes with a trigger warning for roadkill. You may want to avoid eating during the speech. Thankfully, I just ate. Please welcome Sarah Grau, the Coyote story. Sarah Grau.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It was the year 2000, and I was driving home with my friend Felipe from a weekend in Ajo, Arizona, which is a tiny town of 3,000 people by the Mexican border. We were visiting a mutual friend. This was Felipe's former roommate from college and my crush at the time. On our drive home, we had commented how it was twilight, we had left later than we meant to, and also that we thought the highway back to civilization was really unusual. It looked like the monsoon rains had washed away like 1.5 feet of dirt on either side of the road. Weird. Off in the distance, I saw the familiar reflection of eyes, and I knew that a coyote had just crossed the road. In that moment, I made one of the dumbest decisions of my life. I saw that the coyote had crossed, but instead of running off like it was supposed to, it was lingering on the side of the road, deciding whether or not to cross the other way. I decided to speed up and race it before it could change its mind. And as I'm pressing the gas pedal, I hear Felipe go, "What are you, ba-bump, ba-bump?" We definitely hit the coyote. I screamed, hands in the air, let go of the steering wheel, and Felipe just grabs the steering wheel to try to keep us on the road because, like I said, there were those big dips and we were both afraid that the car was going to flip. Felipe just starts calming me down. He's like, "Sarah, it's okay. It died quickly. It didn't suffer. Just, you have to keep it together." And he was being really sweet about it, but for sure, I had to get it together. My 1988 Nissan pickup was the most basic car I've ever driven. It had manual locks, it had manual windows, and it had a manual transmission, which Felipe could not drive. So he had to calm down the one person who could get us back to town. As we were driving to the Love's gas station in Gila Bend, which is where we needed to fill up, I had really calmed down a lot, but I did mention to him that I would freak out if there was any blood on the bumper. And he told me, "No, don't worry about that. That almost never happens. The worst that happens when you hit an animal is you get a dent. You're gonna be fine." And he goes, "You know what? Don't worry about it. I will check for you and I'll clean it up if there's any blood." I said, "Great." So we pull up and he gets out, checks, thumbs up, and he says, "Why don't you go ahead and go to the bathroom, calm yourself down, clean up, and I'll fill up with gas. You drove, I'll treat you." I said, "Great." I'm calmed down in the bathroom, walking out, and then I see a weird shadow on by the rear tire on the driver's side. So I look down and there are 4 paws just hanging right by my rear driver's side tire. Felipe sees me gasping. He looks, he goes, and he motions for me to hurry up and get in the car so we can get out of there as fast as we can. So we get in the car and I am shaking and he goes, don't worry about it. We're gonna be going 80 on the freeway. We definitely went 80 on the freeway. And it'll fall off somewhere between Gila Bend and Phoenix. So we're driving into town thinking for sure it's fallen off by now, when a pickup pulls up, unrolls its window, and they yell, un perro, you hit a dog, man." And our hearts just sank. We knew that now we were gonna have to deal with this thing. I pull up to my house where my roommates are, thinking that maybe they would help us. My roommates were no help at all. They just laughed at us. They handed us a shovel and a bunch of black trash bags and wished us luck. Felipe, who is 19 at this point, was like, "Well, what are we supposed to do?" One of my roommates just laughs and goes, "Hit a bunch of speed bumps. Maybe that'll knock it loose." And while this sounds like the dumbest idea ever, we were 19 and 21 and had no idea what to do. And there was an elementary school with a ton of speed bumps right next door. So we get in my truck and we are hitting speed bumps as fast as we can while Felipe looks out the back to see if it's fallen off yet. After 15 minutes of this, nothing has happened. So Felipe goes, okay, I have to look at this and see what exactly has happened. So he gets out, and you don't really have to understand the anatomy of a truck, but you do have to understand that my particular truck had something called a leaf spring as part of the suspension. This is essentially a skewer that turned the kebab of the Coyote into a mush that was just being pushed further and further back the more we went forward. So going forward was definitely making the problem much worse. He goes, hey, let's hit these speed bumps backwards. So in reverse, ba-bump, 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 I'm hitting every speed bump as hard as I can backwards, doing circles. That does not work either. Felipe gives a deep sigh and goes, okay, I'll get it. So he gets out, he has me back up a foot, he takes the shovel and holds the Coyote down while I slowly back up and snap, crackle, pop, it slides off onto the ground. So he's cleaning this up. I don't know where my entitlement came from to ask this of him, but in that moment I said, hey, can you check under the car and make sure there's nothing left? I will freak out if I have to deal with any of this. So Felipe looks underneath, and sure enough, like garland on a Christmas tree, there are intestines all through my undercarriage that he has to grab and clean up. So he grabs these, puts them in the black trash bag. We put them in the dumpster of the elementary school, and then we drive off so that I can drop him off at his dorm room because he has class the next day. I know that I can be a little bit dense. I had no idea he had a crush on me. I will be honest. And I'm not going to recommend carcass removal as a romantic gesture, but it did work for Felipe. We have now been together for 23 years. We started dating a couple months after this incident. And for sure, all three of our children now know you need to slow down, maybe stop for animals in the road. Thank you.